Hey guys, welcome back. DeFi, degens, drip, and farm for poverty. I'm your host, Drip Coach, dropping knowledge bombs on all Forex Shark related projects. And in today's video, we got a banger, at least from my opinion. I am going to be showing you, not clickbait, but how Drip community could become its own sovereign network state and even an island or territory. And with factual data of things that are actually happening right now and how all of this is actually available and could be done. Not to say that that's something we would do, but it just goes, the point is to show you the power of decentralized control, crypto, and the network adoption as well as community that we are creating. So for starters, I want to show you the power of influence, the ability to garner people's attention and what that can do for people in the traditional sense. So if you're not familiar with Mr. Beast, I'm going to show you a clip from him. This is Mr. Beast, basically a kid that started out doing some random videos like counting to 100,000 and then trying to find ways to get the YouTube algorithm to pick him up. And he's like one of 2 people that have gotten to 100 million subscribers and like one of 5 channels ever. And that's only on his American channel. He has a Spanish channel. He has a German channel. He's got everything being dubbed in different languages. But let's play this clip to give you some context. So this is just a kid. He's 24 years old, but he has created a company that's worth billions of dollars already. And yeah, let's play this.
Yeah. Run for press?
Yeah, I want to try to make a ton of money and then just like give it all away right before I announce my campaign. Like,
I thought you were gonna say buy the presidency.
no, like imagine
Make a
I
ton of
bought
money.
the White House. Imagine I have like $10 billion and then I just give it all away and I'm just like, I can't be bought. I had it all, give it all away. Like, that's pretty powerful.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And then instead of like giving into lobbyists or agendas, I just like do whatever's good for the American people. Sounds like it'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
That is insane. And he's actually serious. I've seen a couple clips of him talking about this. It's a 24-year-old kid. He's talking about he gets into his 40s. So he's got like 18 more years to really learn how things are running. But he's running a multi-billion-dollar company right now with his YouTube channel. He has created a fast food chain. He's created his own chocolate bar. He's given away an island. So the point I'm getting at is that we have seen a previous president that pretty much gained publicity and presidency from influence as well as marketing. And there's been the question of would the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson run for president. So the point that I'm getting at is this day and age that we're in the U.S. is that it's all about attention and how much can you attract in regards to attention via social media and interaction. So I believe he could definitely pull this off in 18 years. Whether or not he makes a good president or not is neither here nor there. But the fact of that someone can come from humble beginnings and just due to the power of community can rise to what is considered the highest position in the world. So yeah, take that with a grain of salt, but that is fascinating what could be possible just from the power of community. Now, how does that tie into the bigger picture of what I'm about to talk about regarding drip? So I've mentioned community on here multiple times, but I'm gonna dive into some information from Mr. Balaji Srivastava. So Srivastava. So this guy is extremely intelligent. If you listen to any Michael Saylor videos, this guy talks exactly like that, but on a different scale. So he's an entrepreneur and investor, co-founder of Council and former chief technology officer on Coinbase. And he's got a book called The Network State, How to Start a New Country. I have not read this book, but I did just finish listening to a 7.5 hour, almost 8 hour interview by Lex Friedman. And man, does he go deep. So first, you need to understand what the network state is. So by his definition, he has coined this term. So now when you Google this is the definition he has created that shows up now. A network state is a social network with a clear leader, an integrated cryptocurrency, a definite purpose, a sense of national consciousness, and a plan to crowdfund territory. This is important. This is the definition he's come up with. That clear leader is the founding influencer who organizes the online community that eventually buys land in the physical world, crucially, that land is not necessarily, I don't know what the rest of that's going to say, but listen to those key points. Clear leader, integrated cryptocurrency, and a definite purpose and sense of national consciousness. So we're going to listen to his definition as well, and then get into a couple of key points that he picked out. But I'm pretty sure you guys can see where I'm going with this. And then I'm going to show you some true factual data of things that are already happening in the real world, that drip is actually above, and that this could happen at any time. It's really crazy to listen to. But first, let's get into Balaji's definition of a network state straight from the horse's mouth.
Is the world. Could you have a country out of nowhere that ranks with the countries of the world? So this is maybe the fastest way. You probably should have said this at the very beginning. If you go to the network state in one image, okay, that kind of summarizes what a network state looks like in a visual, just one single visual. And the visual is of a dashboard. And the dashboard shows something that looks like a social network, except you're visualizing it on the map of the world. And it's got network nodes all over the place. 100 people here, 1,000 people there. They're all connected together. The total population of the people in this social network is about 1 million people. So 1.7 million people in this example. And some of the people are just singletons. They're just folks in their apartment who conceptualize themselves as citizens of this network state. And they've got the flag on their wall, right? And the digital passport on their phone along with digital currency. Others are groups of hundreds or thousands or even tens of thousands of people that have all taken over a neighborhood, just like Chinatowns exist, right? Just like, intentional communities existed. They just basically, go and crowdfund land together, right? And these are all networked together, just like the islands of Indonesia are separated by ocean. These are islands of this network state that are separated by internet. Okay, so they conceptualize themselves as something. And at the very top of the dashboard, there's something very important, which is the population, annual income, and real estate footprint of this network state.
So that's his visual representation of what this network state looks like. And I like how he basically said it's just like the islands of Indonesia separated by water. This network state would just be separated by the internet. And it's a blend of the idea of the metaverse where we have these communities that we meet, but this is actually physical. Like he mentioned, in countries, you have like Chinatown. So in certain countries, probably in all countries, you have little pockets that exist that are collectives of a culture that they speak that language. Only those shops are there to buy and sell, all sorts of stuff. And this can definitely happen with this now global community being created and being bonded together behind a cryptocurrency. So I'm going to play another definition from him where he talks about how the creation of original cities were done, and it's not what we consider cities currently. So this will give you another idea of how this kind of pops up.
There's YIMBY and there's NIMBY and there's YIMBY, but I actually also like HIMBY. Okay.
Let's go. NIMBY, YIMBY, HIMBY. What are those?
So NIMBY is not in my backyard. Don't build in cities. YIMBY is let's build high density buildings, really tall buildings, and so on in cities. There's a third version, which is HIMBY. It's my little coinage, which is horizontal sprawl is good. Why horizontal sprawl? Because to build a skyscraper, to build a tall building in a city, you have this enormous permitting process, all of this stuff which has to get done. It's expensive. It's time consuming. The way that cities were built, if you go back to the V1, what does the startup city look like? It looks like something like Burning Man. It looks like the cities of the Wild West. They were not multi-story buildings. Right? They were basically things that were just like one story and someone could have it there in the dust, and then you build roads and stuff between them. They can move them around. It was a much more dynamic geography. And
so that's a great, again, representation of what this kind of looks like as it gets built out. So you already know within the drip community, we're all spread out across the world, right? Even the YouTubers, as well as the people that have invested, but we are bonded behind a central figurehead that has created this network for us to interact with. And then we unite behind kind of other flags, so to speak, of content creators and things of that nature. And that binds us all together. And then, of course, the currency, something that we are already using within the community to trade and barter. I use it to foster engagement. They use it for marketing and stuff like that. Like Ray as well does it for creating posts and content. So there's already just a little bit of things going on. And I think when you go over to the guy that makes kind of the swag, you can probably pay in drip. I haven't purchased any of it, but I would not be surprised if he accepted drip token. So that's now getting real world items like mugs, shirts, hats in drip, right? So that explains how you can have this physical representation that's spread out but kind of joined together, and also have this collective currency that you can utilize. And like he mentioned with this HIMBY, this could actually be where people crowdfund or purchase land together and live in a actual spot. I'm going to get to that detail shortly, but it's not far-fetched. But the next piece is like, he's going to answer the question of how do you get or gain diplomatic recognition from pre-existing states. So just because you purchase land or do something doesn't mean that the current fiat states that govern the entire world will recognize that. But he has a great example on that and how it's already being kind of decentralized.
Of it as well, right? Mm-hmm. And so first I would say sovereigns are already out for business. They're inking deals, okay? Nevada inked a deal with Tesla to build a Gigafactory. El Salvador has Bitcoin as its national currency. Wyoming has done the DAO law, where Ethereum is now recognized, where you can have on-chain incorporations that are recognized by Wyoming law. Virginia and New York negotiated with Amazon for HQ2. Tuvalu signed a deal with GoDaddy for the .tv domain. Colombia signed a deal for the .co domain, and on and on and on. Sovereigns are open for business. Sovereigns are doing deals with companies and with currencies. Sovereigns at the level of cities like Miami or New York, where the mayors are accepting their salary in Bitcoin. States like Wyoming or Nevada has its new private cities legislation, or entire countries like El Salvador. So
when you say sovereigns, by the way, you mean the old school physical nation states, governments,
fiat states.
Fiat states.
Okay.
But the fiat isn't the thing that makes a state. What makes a state is geographical location.
It is something where they're both, right? So basically it's a play on words. So just like fiat currency is cryptocurrency, we will have fiat country and crypto country, right? And in fact, you can think of the fiat and crypto version of almost anything. One thing I'll come to later.
All right. So he was just showing how the actual creation of this sovereign entities already exist at the city, state, and country wide spectrum globally. So this is an article from last year that state lawmakers explain Wyoming's newly passed DAO LLC. So actually when I was doing online drop shipping, and currently my fitness company is actually registered through Wyoming as an LLC. Those of you not familiar, basically an LLC is just a way to protect and CYA yourself in case something goes upside down in your company. They can't come straight for your personal assets. It goes to the LLC. But they recognize DAOs. That is huge. So this is now people from all over the world can basically get recognition as a on the books legitimate business LLC. And the only requirement is that you have the status of a decentralized autonomous organization. I forgot what they said. Where's that at? 1 second. Is this here. So notably, Wyoming's DAO LLCs all have to be domiciled in the state, which could be a point of confusion for denizens of decentralized web. DAOs can use a registered agent to maintain a presence in the state. So all this basically means is you have to have a state presence, and there's literally a website that you can sign up and register, and then they do this on your behalf. It's just a simple paying of a fee and then checking some boxes, and there you go, you're a registered DAO. So we are not a DAO, but we do have within the animal farm the pig pen governance and staking and stuff like that. And then I have actually purchased NFTs that are part of a crowdfunded or decentralized land or rental properties, where you get a portion of the rental payments each month based on your ownership of the NFTs. And on top of that, there's actually investors who crowdfunded the purchase of a private island. This was with regular fiat, but in 2018. So people have already collectively joined together to purchase land and kind of create their own little location economy, whatever the case may be. And there are tons of islands still available to be purchased at not very high prices when you look at a collective of our size. So $1.5 million, various prices and stuff like that in locations, $3 million off the Caribbeans for 712 acres. Now, again, it begs the question of what kind of recognition will you get from the state, because that island is technically still owned by the state. But is there some way to decentralize, detach from that in the future? I have no idea, but I would not doubt it. That is kind of where we are heading to some degree. Now, the next piece we need to bring up is regarding kind of the law within these DAOs and groups, or network states, as he calls them. So it's like, how do you actually maintain some level of law and order within that state, especially if it's a physical location like an island being purchased or something like that. So in this clip, he breaks down kind of the creation of a constitution and what that looks like in the digital space or decentralized space. Just a quick message, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss another video. This helps bring brand awareness to the channel as well as all Forex Shark related projects. Thank you.
Each society has pieces that you can take from them and learn from them and try to combine them, right? So you have a state that is started by a book that non-violently assembles, that crowdfunds territory around the world, that is led by a CEO founder, and that is also governed by something that's like a constitution. But just like you went from, I talk about the V1, V2, and V3 a lot, right? Like V1 is gold and V2 is fiat and V3 is Bitcoin, right? Or V1 is hunter-gatherer and V2 is farmer-soldier, V3 is digital nomad or sovereign collective, okay, which is not just an individual, but a group. Here, V1 is UK common law. They don't have a constitution. It's all precedent going for many years, right? V2 is the US Constitution, and V3 is the smart contract, the social smart contract, which is a fusion, obviously, of Rousseau's concept of the social contract and the smart contract. The social smart contract is like written in code, okay? So it's like even more rigorous than the Constitution. And in many ways, you can think of going from the United Kingdom of England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, the United States of America, the network states of the internet, okay? Where you go from the rights of Englishmen with the Magna Carta to Europeans, African Americans, all the immigrants to the Americans or the North America. Then you go to all the people of the world, and so you basically are more democratic and you're more capitalist because you're talking about internet capitalism, not just nation state lock capitalism. In a sense, it's the V3, right? In other words, it's the V3. Only about 2% of the world is over 35, native-born American, can qualify to be president of the United States. But 100% of the world, you can become the president of a network state.
That is a powerful statement. So he was just comparing like how difficult it is to actually be the president of the United States, but becoming the president of a nation state or a network state will be much easier and kind of a shortcut. And these could pop up much more rapidly. And then he shows the evolution of the Constitution, how that can literally be embedded and baked into our smart contracts. So I've gone on now for 16 minutes. Those of you still watching, dropping the next scavenger hunt word in here, and we're gonna make it network state. Network state is the scavenger hunt word number 2 for November. All right, on to the next piece. So he's gonna go into world of network states and how we get there and what that actually looks like.
So if you imagine a world that is primarily network states, can you help me imagine what that looks like? Now, there's several ways to imagine things, which is how many of them are there and how often do the new ones pop up?
There could be thousands.
Given 7 billion people, 8 billion people on Earth.
Yeah. So there's network state in the precise definition I have in the book, which is a diplomatically recognized entity. And there's network state in sort of the loose definition where, one thing that's interesting is this term, Adams.
The idea maze within the bigger prime number maze. We're going back to visualizing the number of states and how often are they born.
So let me first anchor this because people, just to give some numbers, right? How many UN listed countries are there? Like 196, 193, okay? And there's some that are on the border like Taiwan or Israel, right? Where they're not, Israel's a country, but it's not recognized by every country or what have you, right?
Is Texas a country?
No, but it may eventually become. Right, okay. So within that list of about 200 countries, okay, I've got a graph in the book that shows that most countries are actually small countries. There's 12 countries that have less than 100,000 people by the UN definition of a country. There's another 20-something that have between 100,000 and 1 million. There's another 50 or 60-something that have between 1 million and 10 million. So most countries in the UN are less than 10 million people. There's only 14 countries that are over 100 million people, okay? So most countries are small countries is kind of surprising to us because most people live in big countries, okay? And so now you're like, okay, well, I've built social networks that are bigger than that. You have a following that's bigger than 100,000 people. You have a following that's bigger than, a small country like Kiribati or what have you, right? And okay, so that first changes feasibility. You think of a country as this huge, huge, huge thing. It's actually smaller than many countries are smaller than social networks that you've built. Okay, number one. Number two is the number of UN listed countries. Even though it's been flat-ish for the last 30 years with a few things like South Sudan and East Timor that have come online, there's a graph that I posted which shows that it's increased by from about 40 or 50 something at the end of World War II when the UN was set up to 190 something today. There's been kind of a steady increase, in particular with all the decolonization, all the countries that got their independence first from the British Empire and then from the Soviet Empire, right? That imperial breakup led to new countries, okay? And so then the question is that flat forever? Well, the number of new currencies similarly increased for a while, roughly one per country or thereabouts. and then it was flat for a while, and then suddenly it's gone completely vertical. That's an interesting graph, right? Where it's like linear-ish, and then it's flat, and then it just goes woof like this. Now you can define, you can argue where the boundary is for quote a new currency, okay? But I think Bitcoin certainly counts. I think Ethereum certainly counts in terms of just its scale and adoption worldwide. So at least you have two. If you take the broad church view, you have 1,000 or something like that, right? Somewhere in between, you might say how many currencies are above the market cap of an existing previously recognized fiat currency, like which got onto the leaderboard, right? There's a website just like coinmarketcap.com. That's like a site for like cryptocurrency tracking. It's very popular. Okay. There's a fun site called fiatmarketcap.com, which shows where Bitcoin is relative to the fiat currencies of the world. And it's like, last I checked, like number 27, somewhere in between the Chilean peso and the Turkish lira or something. Okay.
So there is a lot to unpack there, but that is a really clean definition. So he's talking about basically the population size, and then the the GDP of the country itself, as well as the market cap of the currencies in those countries. So I decided to pull up, because he mentioned a couple countries, decided to pull up the actual data on the countries themselves, ranked by order of GDP. So you have the IMF, the UN, and then per capita. So we're just going to use the first two columns. And basically you come down around the couple 100 million mark. This is what the Animal Farm had locked in TBL at some stage. And I believe we'll definitely get to 1 billion. So let's just look. This would rank us in regards to GDP somewhere around, 180, above 190 or so, especially in regards to GDP to a comparable country. Also, you could look over here at the population. So we know right now there's about 130,000 drippers, but there are some duplicate wallets or whatever. But you can look at somewhere like Dominica. Maybe we have about 70,000 people. So we would have the population of Dominica, definitely more than the Marshall Islands in regards to people, more than Tuvalu, about Tuvalu. So we're already checking boxes on literal GDP as well as total amount of people in a country. Now, the only thing that would be left would be how does our currency, which is currently the drip currency, rack and stack. So as he mentioned, you have fiat market cap. So you can look at some of the existing market caps for these currencies. I don't know these currencies. I didn't bother to look these up, but basically they're denominated in Bitcoin. And right now, 10,000 Bitcoin is just above $205 million, right? So we definitely know we have a currency value of more than $205 million. We have transacted nearly $1 billion, but we don't have that locked. So yeah, right now our TVL is just like, I don't know, 5 million, 6 million, something like that. But over time, who knows what it could become? So could we see these numbers? Sure. So this is 200 million. Then this will be about 800 million right around here. And this will be about 1 billion, somewhere between these. So with the borrowing, lending, and all the stuff coming out, can we get drip to be those prices at some stage? Sure. So what does that mean in the long run or for this video? It's like, ironically, if we could somehow combine and create some sort of utility and crowdfunding and things of that nature that could support something like this, we have the ability to buy an island, have the currency to sustain it, and also would have the number of people to be recognized in regard to the leaderboard, as Balaji mentioned. Now, there's one other piece that I think is really huge that I want to share with you guys that he got into, and it gets into the tech piece, and then I'll be wrapping up this video.
It's a lot, but the AR is not as obvious, actually.
Okay, so AR glasses. What are AR glasses? So you take Snapchat Spectacles, Google Glass, Apple's AR Kit,
Yeah.
Facebook's Oculus Quest 2, right? Or Meta Quest 2, whatever. Okay, you put those together, and what do you get? You get something that has the form factor of glasses that you'd wear outside. Okay, which can, with a tap, record or give you Terminator vision on something, or with another tap, go totally dark and become VR glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so normal glasses, AR glasses, VR glasses, recording. It's as multifunctional as your phone, but it's hands-free. And you might actually even wear it more than your phone. In fact, you might be blind without your AR glasses because, one of the things I've shown in the book early on are like floating sigils. Did I show you that?
No.
So this is a really important, just visual concept. That right there shows with AR Kit, you can see a globe floating outside. Okay, secret societies are returning. This is what NFTs will become. The NFT locally on your crypto phone, if you hold it, you can see the symbol. And if you don't, you can't.
By the way, for people just listening, we're looking at a nice nature scene where an artificially created globe is floating in the air.
Yes, but it's invisible if you're not holding up the ARKit phone.
Yes.
Right? So
only you have a window into this artificial world.
that's right. And then here is another thing, which shows you another piece of it. And this is using ENS to unlock a door. So this is an NFT used for something different. So the first one is using the NFT effectively to see something, and the second is using the NFT to do something. Okay. So based on your on-chain communication, right? You can unlock a door. That's a door to a room. Soon it could be a door to a building. It could be the gates to a community. It could be your digital login. Okay. And
All right, that is the last piece. So in case you didn't catch that, he's talking about an NFT, basically something in your wallet where either the glasses you're looking at and can recognize this because you have, let's just use the example we already have in the drip community, you have one of DeFi Proof's NFTs, then you see this sigil or something like that, or really physical. It can literally be used as maybe if the island was purchased as your ticket to get from one island to the other. It could also be used to open a door or a gate or something like that. Yes, I know this is far-fetched, but the point is all of this exists already as he's showing. I don't see our community doing this in the short term, but I just want you to understand the power of the decentralized space and what it is already creating in regards to people creating sovereignty over their own assets as well as their locations, and then deciding as a community and a collective to what currencies to transact on, creating legally registered businesses and DAOs that get registered and are granted rights, can purchase land. You know, it's just crazy. So, and then showing you again how insane our community has gotten in compared to the leaderboard of like GDP for countries and number of users compared to country population. So yeah, it's like very interesting. That's just the best I can say. So I really appreciate those of you that like this kind of content that has stuck around this long. I know it's a long video, but this is the kind of, I like diving deep into this kind of stuff, doing like this macro analysis, because the whole point is just to show you how big this entire thing is and how far we have to go. So sometimes we get stuck looking at the charts and like, oh man, it's not doing what I wanted, but it's like we have massive global adoption coming and so much utility is going to transform lives that if you can just zoom out, like I say, when in doubt, zoom out, and sit around and wait and be patient, then it's like, man, this thing will take us to places that we never even thought. So for those of you that have stuck around this long, I'm going to do a random airdrop in the comments. So leave a comment that says hashtag drip coach and something else, and do your buddy address. So you got to put the hashtag drip coach, something else, and then your buddy address, and then I'll just use the random YouTube picker and do a I don't know, 5-10 drip airdrop for those of you that have stuck around this long in my video, and those of you that were in the middle, you know you got a treat as well. So I really appreciate this. Also, please let me know in your comment if this kind of stuff you are interested in. I sometimes know it's just for me and I go on these tangents and talk very long, but if you do like this kind of stuff, I have no problem covering it. So until next time, you know the drill. Smash that HBO special, help a brother out, lift daily, and achieve your impossible. See you guys.